you're watching this at night, turn on a light. You'll thank me later. Story 1. It started like any normal day. I had just spent a few days in Austin visiting old friends. The drive back home to Louisiana was long, an all-day trip really. And I wasn't exactly excited about spending 8 hours on the road alone. That morning, I posted a quick story on Instagram. A photo of my packed bags, the caption said, "Heading home." Within minutes, I got a message. It was from Tom, an old high school friend I hadn't seen in years. He replied, "You're in Austin? When are you leaving?" When I told him I was driving back that afternoon, he said something that felt like fate. "Hey, I live about an hour outside Austin now. You should stop by on your way home, man. It's been years." At first, I hesitated. We hadn't spoken properly in forever, but I remembered the good times, hanging out after class, getting into harmless trouble, staying up too late talking about life. It felt harmless, familiar. So I said yes. The GPS said an hour and a half drive to his place. The roads got quieter the further I drove, the sun dipping low as I passed empty fields and dusty roads. When I finally arrived, the first thing I noticed was the house. Old-fashioned, but solid. The kind of home you could tell had been standing there for decades. The wooden porch creaked beneath my boots as I stepped up to the door. When Tom opened it, he greeted me with the biggest grin and a hug that almost lifted me off my feet. "Damn, man," he said. "It's been forever." He smelled faintly of whiskey and old cedar, and behind him, I could feel the air of an old cabin. That scent of aged wood, a little dust, maybe even something. Still, the house felt like a time capsule. Faded wallpaper, furniture that looked straight out of the 70s, and a faint hum in the air from an old ceiling fan turning lazily above us. Every step on the hardwood floor made a small creak. Charming, in a strange Texas kind of way. We sat in the living room, whiskey glasses in hand, catching up on years of silence. The conversation flowed easily, too easily. Stories from high school, bad decisions, lost loves. The kind of talk that only old friends can have after time apart. One drink turned into two. Two became four. By the time the sun was gone, the house was warm with laughter and alcohol. I didn't even realize how late it had gotten until Tom leaned back and said, "Dude, you're not driving home tonight. Just crash here. It's a long way back and you're wasted." He was right, I wasn't going anywhere. I nodded. "Yeah, good idea. Couch is fine." He smiled, shaking his head. "Nah, man, got a spare room. Not fancy, but better than the couch." I followed him down a short hallway. The lights were dim, casting long shadows on the old wallpaper. He opened the door to the spare room, and the first thing I noticed was the stillness, like the air hadn't been touched in a long time. No movement, no scent of life, just quiet. I barely looked around. I was too drunk to care. I collapsed on the bed, boots and all, and within seconds I was out cold. Sometime later, maybe hours, maybe minutes, I woke up. My mouth was dry. My head was spinning. The room was dark except for a sliver of moonlight slipping through the blinds, and that's when I saw it. At first I thought it was nothing. A shape on the closet door, long, dark, and still. A coat maybe. A trench coat hanging on a rack. But the longer I looked, the less sense it made. The shape was too solid, too defined. It wasn't fabric. It was a figure. Broad shoulders, no face, no movement, but something about it felt alive. My heartbeat started to rise, thudding in my ears. I blinked, looked again. Still there. "Just a coat," I whispered to myself, rolling over. "Just a damn coat." I closed my eyes tight. The silence pressed down around me. After a while, I must have drifted back to sleep. When I woke again, something felt wrong. The light in the room had changed, early dawn spilling through the window. But there was a sound. Creak, soft, slow, like someone stepping carefully across the old wooden floorboards. I froze. The sound came again, closer this time, and my eyes shot open. The figure was gone. I sat up so fast the room spun. My stomach twisted, my pulse roaring in my chest. The corner was empty. The closet door stood half open. I could feel the chill crawl up my spine. Every instinct screamed that something had been there, watching. Now it was gone. I threw the blanket off and stumbled into the hallway. Tom's door was closed, his snores muffled behind it. I banged on the wood. "Tom!" It took a while before he woke, groggy and confused. "What's up, man? You okay?" "The coat," I said breathlessly. "The one in the room, on the closet door. It looked like someone standing there." He frowned. "What coat?" "The black trench coat, man. The one that was hanging in the corner. He cut me off, now looking concerned. "I don't even have a trench coat, and there's no coat rack in that room." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. A grin, a laugh, something. But his face stayed serious. "Come look," he said finally. We went back to the spare room together, the corner where I saw it. Empty. Tom scratched his head. "You sure you weren't just dreaming?" "No," I said, my voice shaking. "I woke up, I saw it, and then I woke up again, and it was gone." For a long moment we stood there in silence, the morning light creeping across the floorboards. Then Tom sighed, rubbing his face. "Let's check the house." We did. Every room, every closet, every door and window. Nothing. No sign of anyone. No trench coat, no footprints, just that same still air, heavy and stale, like the house had been holding its breath all night. By the time the sun was fully up, I was packed and ready to leave. Tom tried to laugh it off, saying maybe it was the whiskey, maybe my mind playing tricks. But as I looked at that spare room one last time, I felt something, a coldness that didn't belong. As I drove away, my thoughts wouldn't stop circling back to that moment in the dark, that figure, standing, watching. Maybe it was just a dream, maybe it wasn't. But what still haunts me most isn't what I saw, it's what I didn't. Because something was in that room with me, and it waited until I fell asleep. Story 2. I've always loved camping. The quiet, the stars, the sound of the forest breathing at night. It used to calm me, but that changed last summer. Now, whenever I hear the sound of trees swaying in the dark, I remember what happened at Silver Pine Lake. It was supposed to be a peaceful weekend, just me, my girlfriend Mia, and our friends Ryan and Claire. We'd planned everything. Tents, marshmallows, fishing gear. A small speaker for music. The weather was perfect. The lake was calm, almost too calm, reflecting the trees like a mirror. We arrived just before sunset, parked near the trail, and hiked about a mile to the campsite. A flat spot surrounded by thick pines. The air smelled of sap and smoke from distant campfires. By nightfall, we had a small fire going, laughing and roasting marshmallows like kids again. It felt good, safe. But around midnight, things got strange. It started with the forest going quiet, completely silent. If you've ever camped before, you know how loud nature usually is. Crickets, frogs, the wind in the leaves. But suddenly it was like someone hit mute on the world. No sound, not even the wind. Just the faint hiss of our fire and the beating of my own heart. Mia was the first to notice. She leaned closer to me and whispered, "Do you hear that?" I whispered back, "What?" She shook her head slowly. "Exactly." Ryan laughed nervously. "Maybe a bear nearby. Animals go quiet when they sense one." But he didn't sound like he believed it himself. Then Claire said, "Look, across the lake, between the trees, and a light, small, flickering like a lantern. It moved slowly, left to right, then stopped. We watched for maybe 30 seconds before the light blinked out. Gone. No sound, no footsteps, just gone." Mia said, "Maybe another camper?" But there was something off about it. We hadn't passed a single car on the trail. No other tents, no other people. And who walks around with a lantern that late, that deep in the woods? Ryan grabbed a flashlight. "I'll check it out." Claire immediately said, "No, stay here, you're not going out there." But he was stubborn, the kind of guy who doesn't believe in weird stuff until it's too late. So I went with him. The two of us crossed the narrow trail leading toward the other side of the lake. The air felt colder there. Every step we took made the dry leaves crunch beneath our boots. and each sound felt like it echoed too far. The flashlight beam danced between the trees, cutting through the mist that had started to roll in. We reached the edge of the water and stopped. "Nothing," Ryan said. He turned to look at me, annoyed. "Probably just a reflection, or..." He froze. I followed his gaze. Across the lake in the darkness, two figures were standing. They were barely visible, silhouettes against the faint moonlight, but I could tell they were facing us. No movement, no sound, just standing there. Ryan whispered, "You seeing that?" "Yeah," I said. "Don't move." One of the figures tilted its head, slow, unnatural, like a curious animal studying prey. Then both of them stepped back into the trees and vanished. We ran, didn't even think about it. We bolted back to the fire, shouting for Mia and Claire. When we got there, the fire was nearly out, and both of them were standing by the tent, pale as ghosts. Claire pointed at the woods behind us. "There's someone walking out there," she said, her voice shaking. We heard footsteps circling the camp. I didn't even want to look. We threw more wood on the fire, the light giving us some small illusion of safety. Ryan grabbed his knife. I held the flashlight tight, and Mia was crying quietly beside me. No one said it out loud, but we were all thinking the same thing. We weren't alone out there. Every few minutes we'd hear twigs snapping, always from different directions, like whoever, or whatever, was out there was moving around us, watching. After maybe an hour of that torture, it finally stopped. Silence again. We didn't sleep that night. We just sat there watching the trees, waiting for dawn. When the first light hit the lake, we packed up as fast as we could. None of us talked. We just wanted to leave. But as we were about to go, I turned around one last time. Something caught my eye. Across the lake, near the spot where we saw those figures, there was something hanging from a tree. At first, I thought it was cloth. But when I looked through the binoculars, my stomach dropped. It was a wooden cross made from two branches tied together. And hanging from it was something even worse. A Polaroid photo. I could barely make it out through the zoom, but I swear, it looked like a picture of our campfire from the night before. We didn't say a word. We just left. For days after, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the floor, every rustle outside my window made me jump. Finally, I called the local ranger station and asked if anyone lived near Silver Pine Lake. The man on the phone paused for a moment before answering. "There used to be an old cabin out there years ago," he said. "Belonged to a guy who went missing back in the 80s. People say his ghost still walks the woods. Why do you ask?" I didn't answer. I just hung up. It's been almost a year now, but sometimes I still dream about it. The firelight flickering across the trees, the way those figures tilted their heads, the sound of footsteps circling the camp. Last month, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It showed 4 people sitting around a campfire. 3 of them were smiling. The 4th, me, had his head turned, looking at something in the darkness behind us. Something watching. Story 3. I've lived alone for most of my adult life, and honestly, I used to love it. The silence, the freedom, no one to bother me. But after what happened in that apartment, I'll never live alone again. It started when I moved into apartment 313, a small one-bedroom place in an old building downtown. It was cheap, quiet, and close to work. Too good to be true, right? The landlord was an older woman, kind but a little odd. When she handed me the keys, she said, "You'll like it here, just try not to stay up too late." I laughed it off, thinking she was just being weird, but I should have listened. The first few nights were peaceful. A few creaks, the hum of pipes, the usual old building noises. But on the 4th night, I woke up around 3 a.m. to a sound that didn't belong. A voice. It was faint, muffled, almost like someone whispering from behind the wall. I sat up in bed, straining to hear. At first, I thought it was a neighbor talking through thin walls, but the words didn't sound like any language I knew. Low, rhythmic, and wet, like someone chanting underwater. I told myself it was just the building's plumbing or an echo, but the next night, it happened again. Only this time it said my name. At first I wasn't even sure. Maybe I imagined it, I thought. But then it came again. A whisper, clear as day. "Evan." I froze. The sound came from the air vent above my bed. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and pointed it upward. The vent grill was shaking, just slightly, as if something inside was breathing. I couldn't move. I couldn't even scream. The voice came again, soft and close. "You shouldn't be here." That was enough. I threw on my jacket, grabbed my keys, and left the apartment at 3:30 in the morning. I slept in my car that night. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord's office. She looked at me with tired eyes, like she already knew what I was about to say. I asked her, "Who lived in my apartment before me?" Her face went pale. After a long pause, she said, "A man named Harris. He didn't last long there." I frowned. "Didn't last long? What do you mean?" She hesitated. "He kept complaining about voices in the vents, said they were calling to him. One night he jumped from his window. The police said he was hallucinating." My blood went cold. "Why didn't you tell me that before I moved in?" I asked. She looked down. "You wouldn't have taken it." She was right. That night I promised myself I'd stay calm. No matter what I heard, I wouldn't freak out again. I even left the lights on. Small comfort, but it helped. Around midnight I started hearing scratching, like nails dragging against metal. Then the whisper started again. This time it was louder, harsher. "You shouldn't have come back." I jumped out of bed, grabbed a chair, and climbed up to the vent. The sound stopped immediately. Silence. My heart pounded. I unscrewed the vent cover slowly, shining my flashlight inside. Nothing. Just a dark, narrow tunnel filled with dust. But then, something moved, just a shadow, quick, too fast to be an animal. Then I heard it, breathing, right next to my ear. I screamed, fell backward off the chair, and crashed to the floor. When I looked up, the vent was open and something was looking back. It wasn't a face, not exactly, just the outline of one. Dark, sunken eyes, mouth open too wide, whispering words that made my head spin. I couldn't move, couldn't even think. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, it pulled back, vanishing into the dark of the vent. I ran. Didn't even bother locking the door. I ran down the hallway barefoot, pounding on my neighbor's door. A man in his 50s answered, half asleep. He looked at me, saw my face, and sighed. "Let me guess," he said. "You're from 313. That one sentence froze me. He motioned for me to come inside. The moment I stepped in, I noticed every air vent in his apartment was sealed shut with duct tape. He said quietly, "You heard it, didn't you?" I nodded. He rubbed his temples. "We all have. It's the vents, they connect through the walls. But there's something in there, something that talks. Some say it's Harris, others say it's older than the building itself." I wanted to leave right then. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Once it says your name, it doesn't stop." I didn't sleep again that night. By morning, I had packed everything and was gone. Left the keys on the counter, never went back. But even now, months later, sometimes I hear it. Late at night when the world is quiet, I'll hear a faint whisper in my own vents. And sometimes I swear it still says my name. Evan. If you're hearing strange sounds in your house, if something whispers your name when you're alone, don't ignore it. Because once it finds your voice, it never forgets. And if you're still watching this right now, maybe keep the lights on tonight, because you never know what's behind your walls. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. But be careful. Curiosity has a way of attracting the wrong kind of attention. So before you go to sleep tonight, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because you're watching Mr. Dark Hour, and the darkness is only getting closer.